guys, so welcome to your Yin Yoga practice. For your practice today, you'll need the usual props. I would grab a strap if you have one. If you don't, something like a beach towel or something will work. But that'll just give us a little bit of extra reach if you need it. Have your folded towel or blanket or something, and a bolster if you have a bolster, or a few pillows that you can stack, because pillows tend to sort of compress a lot more. So grab a few of them if you don't have a bolster, and maybe a block. We'll see what happens there. But just grabbing your props when you're ready or as needed, and then letting yourself get settled in. So you might settle in on your back. If you're growing tiny humans, you might lay on your left side. Is that safer side to lay on? Maybe with something under or in between your knees, under that top knee or in between your knees. Or if it really doesn't work for you to lay down, you can always sit up. But I want you to be able to settle in and rest in here, rather than being in more of like this active or super aware of everything happening around you position. So do what works for you, letting yourself settle in. I will stay upright for this part obviously, but just let yourself settle in here. You might have a little bit of a snug into the ground beneath you, feeling the connection point of all of the parts of your body that are connecting to the ground beneath you. It's this reminder of, oh yeah, there is support here. I can relax for your muscles, for your tissues. So just allowing that arrival. You might like to close your eyes here if that feels safe and accessible for you. If it doesn't, that is totally okay. You can always just soften your gaze instead. Maybe gently lowering it. Just be aware of if your eyes are moving around, looking around the room, or even underneath your eyelids. So we want them to just be resting, or training them to rest. Maybe taking a deep breath in through your nose. A long breath out of your mouth. Let's do that twice more. So breathing in through the nose. A long breath out of your mouth. And this long extended exhale, not a short half sigh. So once more like that. And then just let your breath be easy. In and out of your nose if that's accessible. The reason we say in and out of the nose is because it generally tends to calm the breath. When we breathe through our mouth, it's more of an active or activating breath. So if you need to breathe through your mouth, that's okay. But if you can breathe through your nose, that's the reason why it slows it down, and it is more of that calming effect. Noticing maybe the sensations of touch, so the touch of your body connecting to the ground beneath you. The touch of air or your clothes on your skin. Maybe the touch of the air on the tips of the nostrils as it moves in and out. Noticing sensations of space, so where you might feel tight or compressed or contracted in your body or in your being. And where you might feel soft and relaxed and open. Both get to exist at the same time if they exist at the same time. We are rarely, if not never, only one thing. So here, just starting to notice your natural breath without trying to change it, being aware of the natural depth of your breath. So just being aware of where your body moves as you breathe in, where you feel your breath in your body. The natural length of your breath, if one side of your breath feels longer or shorter than the other. The natural pace of your breath, if it's quick and rushed and hurried, like it's running a race, or if it's quite slow and relaxed. And starting to invite your breath in to deepen down towards your abdomen. Getting this sense of filling up, this gentle expansion through your belly. Breathing down towards the bottom of your lungs. You're not actively pressing or pushing your belly forward, but by breathing down as your lungs expand downward, they press the diaphragm down and that gently moves the belly forward out of the way as a byproduct. So just exploring that, if you're on your back or wherever you are, you might find it useful to bring your hands to your lower belly. Sometimes that sensory reminder for your brain in a different way just helps it click in or lock in a bit easier, as if you are breathing down in towards your hands. Let your shoulders and arms and elbows still relax here. Just playing with those deeper, slower inhales. You may feel just your belly expanding a little bit. You may feel it overflow from your belly into your ribs. Take your time with it. If it's not perfect, that's okay. Just keep coming back to aiming for that deeper belly breath. This is how we practice. This is how we learn it on a somatic level in our bodies. And starting to lengthen your breath out so that it matches the length of your breath in, finding this equal breath, this balanced breath. So if you filled up, you'll empty from the top down, ribs will come back first, and then belly empties last. And this whole breath is a little bit longer than your natural breath, but not to the point of force or exertion. So just find that balance for you. If it feels activating or overwhelming in some way, ease back a little bit. You might stay with this equal breath, or if it feels okay to lengthen that breath out, so that it's a little bit longer than the length of your breath in, finding this unequal breath. So work with what works for you. Take just another couple of breaths like this. And then letting go of the control of your breath, let your natural breath return, noticing any sense of ease or effortlessness that might be there. Maybe in this space, finding your intention for your practice. What is it that you'd like to carry with you throughout your time here on the mat? And a reminder for your Yin practice that we are only aiming for about that 60 to 80% level of intensity. We don't want to go full intensity. We don't want to turn it up to 11. We really want to just find a little bit in that range and support your body with the props however you need to, so you can rest into that rather than holding it yourself. And that's how we work with the nervous system in this instance. So really be aware of we're doing that on purpose, not because I'm being overcautious with you or anything. It's really because that is the benefit of how we practice in this particular style. So really allow that for yourself. And a reminder also to treat each transition as just as mindfully as the poses themselves. So when you feel ready with that, start to gently move, bring movement, drawing circles through your wrists and ankles a few times in each direction. Maybe stretch a sigh or yawn. Every time I say yawn, makes me want to yawn. So excuse me. And bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a big hug, whatever feels good for you. Maybe a little rock side to side or drawing circles a few times each direction. So from here, we're coming to a pose called something like a cat with its tail, or cat's got its tail, depending. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. This is where you might like your strap. If your reach isn't very far, whether that's because of your range of movement, your mobility, or maybe you just have limbs that don't allow you to have this longer reach. So the strap might be useful. So you might like to grab it and have it handy, have it ready, whether it's in a little loop or whether you just sort of fold it back on itself. It doesn't really matter. And there's a couple of options of what you can do with this as well. So you may want to have something like your blanket or even your pillow or something at the top here. So starting by laying down on your right side, extend both legs out. If you, depending on your surface, you may want like cushioning underneath that hip as well, but nothing that lifts it up, just something that gives you a little bit of padding. And from here, extend that top leg out in front of you. So it's just resting out in front. And whether you stay up on your forearm or come down, it's very swimsuit molly, but you can, from here, start to bend that back knee so it's coming behind you. So this is where you take your top arm, your left hand, reach it back to catch a hold. If you can see there, you're catching a hold of your right foot, but you're staying stacked through the hips. So if you can't reach that foot, but it feels good to, that's where you might grab your strap, place it over the foot, and just take a hold of the strap instead. So it really depends on your range. So you can do what you want with the upper body and reach how you need to with that lower body. So from here, that might be plenty for you. Or if you're feeling particularly open or you want to play with this, it's almost like you're walking that bottom shoulder forward so you can twist open and rest that way. But that can feel quite strong for the lower back in this instance. For me right now, it feels a little compressy than good. So I'm going to choose this anyway. So you get to choose what feels best for you, but we're holding this for a few minutes. So find the range or the intensity that works. And maybe increase it if you need to by drawing that back knee, that bottom knee back a little bit. Just really depends. That top leg, even though it's sort of holding you there, it's a little bit, it's relaxed as much as it can be. So whatever you want to do with the upper body, whether you're still up on the forearm, or you're resting like this, or even resting like this. Maybe let your eyes close or lower. Let yourself just breathe into your body. Whether that's with a steady breath or a measured breath. Notice if your jaw is gripping. Maybe let that release, creating a bit of space between your back teeth. Notice what your eyes are doing. If they're busy, if they're roaming around, can you bring them to stillness, to rest? You're halfway there on this side. Take 2 more breaths here. On that exhale, gently release that back foot. Try not to let it spring load back, so you're gently releasing it with a bit of control and just rolling onto your belly. Taking just a couple of breaths here, letting everything soften and relax. Doing whatever you want with your head. Just noticing the different sides of your body, changes or sensation, circulation. And coming to the other side. So you're laying down on your left side. This will be useful for you to see what's sort of happening with that back hand and foot here. So you're on your left side, you might start on the forearm here. Take your right foot or the right leg out in front of you. And then whether you use the strap or just your hand, starting to bend that back or that bottom foot, catching a hold of the left foot with your right hand. So what that strap looks like, just for ease for you, that's what the strap would look like. Just hooking it over. Choosing what you do with your upper body, whether you lay down, support your head, or whether you creep that bottom shoulder towards that top leg and open up into a twist. But again, may not feel great for you here, or it may feel great for you. So choosing what feels best for you on this side based on your needs. And based on the intensity that you're working with. Allow yourself to adjust little bits as you need to so that you can find the position that you're able to find a version of rest in. You're halfway there on this side. You may feel it differently on one side than you do on the other. That's normal. Take 2 more breaths here. As you exhale, gently let that bottom foot go. So you can gently, gently ease out. Coming to your belly. If you had your head turned one way, maybe turn it the other. Of course, if you can't lay on your belly, if you're growing tiny humans, you might lay on your back. Or just in another neutral position for a few breaths. Just allowing your body to adjust, integrate. Noticing both sides, how that feels. And from here, helping yourself up. This is where you may want to come in front of a couch if you don't have a stack of things that you can come to. So you may want to come in front of a couch or a seat or something. Coming into our supported standing forward fold. So this sometimes doesn't feel super restful, which is why we add as many props as we can and use the wall behind us if we can as well. Depending, if you're on the couch, you can lean forward a bit more, but it just depends on where you feel like you want support. So from here, not standing directly against the wall, because then you're not gonna, you're gonna be pushed forward. And so you want a little bit of space between your feet and the wall. So you can lean a little into it with your bum. Move the props in to wherever you need them to be, or move to the couch if you're working with the couch. If you have unmedicated high blood pressure, you may not want to bring your head below the height of your heart. So maybe the back of the couch works for you like this, or something similar. Or if it just doesn't feel good to lower your head all the way down, maybe it's vertigo, maybe it's something else, or it just doesn't feel good. It's okay if it doesn't feel good. You don't have to do it, and you don't always have to have a reason. So soften the knees a little bit, so you're not locking through the legs, because we want space for the spine to lengthen. So the softer, if we lock through the legs, it might curve the spine here. So allow the knees to soften, letting yourself rest down. We're only holding this one for 2 minutes. So if your head is lowered, you might give it a gentle nod yes or shake no. Making sure that your head or your arms are supported here, your shoulders are soft, and that you can breathe. If you need a bit more space for your belly, you might widen your feet a little, not too wide, but just enough. Creating space between your vertebrae and your discs of the spine. Slow, steady breaths. Take another breath here, and I want you to take your time coming out of this one. So if your head is all the way down, lifting slowly to halfway first. Take a few breaths in halfway. Just letting your blood pressure equalize a little bit. And then using support or even the fronts of your legs, slowly, slowly lifting up. Exhaling out at the top. So from here, back down to sit. So adding on to that, but in the same the different way, grabbing your folded blanket or towel, just make sure it's not got any random creases or folds in it, so it's a little bit more comfortable. Because you're going to place that underneath your hips. So place it at the other end, have your bolster or pillows or multiple of handy. So you're sitting with your legs extended out. So we're doing our seated forward fold this time. So we just did our standing forward fold, decompressing using gravity. This one, our body should be a little more ready for it. If you have something extra, like another folded blanket that you can roll up, that you can use underneath your crease of the knees, you might find that that adds support, because you want to allow the legs to be supported here. So from here, grabbing your pillows or your bolster, you might have it across or you might have it lengthways. Generally, you won't always know what you're feeling like you need until you try it and then you adjust. So you might have it lengthways where you can rest your head and forehead down. Notice I'm not bunching up my shoulders. I'm not trying to reach my arms forward because that doesn't add anything to the pose. You can keep them relaxed and you still get the same benefit but less tension. Or you might cup your forehead in your hands, or it may feel better lengthways, doing the same, or widthways rather, doing the same. It's really up to you, so find what that is for you now. Maybe you place the block underneath the end in between your legs, just so it's a little bit higher at that end rather than on the slope. So it's up to you. Find that position. Remember 60 to 80% intensity, so you don't have to push it. This one may either build in intensity the longer you're in it, or ease in intensity, so it really depends. Make sure you're breathing. If you notice any tension creeping into your body, consciously invite it to soften and relax. Just another 90 seconds or so here. Just keep breathing, keep being. Another 2 breaths here. And just like you came out really slowly and mindfully of the standing version of this, doing the same. So take your time, slowly, slowly stacking your spine, breathing in. Let your head eventually lift last. Out at the top. Give everything a bit of a wiggle. And from here, moving your bolster sort of to the front, easing out of that pose. I'm just going to change angle so you can see a bit better. So you still have your hips on the blanket. And coming to diamond pose for a moment. Actually, coming into diamond pose, we'll do full diamond pose. So you might bring your block sort of just below the heels and have your bolster or your pillows on an incline there. So that is bringing the props up to meet you. So you just have a little bit of a lean. If that's still too much for you, hug it in closer even, just so you can rest maybe your chin, whatever it is that you need. If you've got range, remember only 60 to 80% intensity, you might go a bit further, but just be really real with that. And finding here, so the legs are in a diamond shape, the feet are pressing together, but there's enough space in between for you to set up. You might have your head turned one way or the other, or it might feel comfortable to just rest, whatever works for you. Let your eyes rest, your shoulders relax. Just let your body breathe. Let the muscles in your face be soft. Another breath here. And slowly help yourself up. Move the props to the side. Help your knees up towards each other. Maybe give your legs a little bit of a wiggle. Beautiful. So from here, coming to lay on your back, have We're coming into supported bridge, and we'll transition into supported shoulder stand. So not active, but supported shoulder stand, or legs up the wall if you prefer that. So having props handy based on what you know, if you already know what you like there. So if you like to use the block for supported bridge, you can have that. If you don't like the firmness of the block, or you just don't have a block, thick book works well. Or you can use a few pillows or your bolster. That's a bit softer, but it's still supported here. So from here, laying down on your back, knees bent, feet on the mat. I'm going to demonstrate with the block, but you choose yours. Have the block widthways on the lowest level, lift your hips and place it right underneath your sacrum. So notice how that's not in my lower back. It's not underneath my spine at all. It is underneath my pelvis. So you want it there so that the pelvis is higher than the spine. So keeping your knees bent here, resting the back of the ribs down. You might even place your flat hands or palms or fingers over the front of the hip bones, the little knobbly parts there. I find it easy to close my eyes and just feel if one side feels like it's higher towards the sky than the other. Don't overthink it. As soon as you start overthinking it, you lose it. So if it feels same, that's great. Perfect, stay exactly as you are. If one side feels higher towards the sky, start to slowly walk that foot away from you towards the end of the mat until they feel about the same. So I say slowly because it might not need a lot. It might need plenty, but it might not need a lot. So once you find that position, just resting your arms wherever feels good. You'll notice this effect more with the block than you will with the bolster, just because it's sort of helping with any tilt or rotation with the sacrum and pelvis. And letting yourself rest. Your breathing might just be a little quieter here. That's natural. That's totally okay. This might also help with the experience of sciatica just by rebalancing any tilt in the sacrum that might be contributing to that. So if you are super happy and comfortable and wanting to stay here, you can absolutely stay here, or spend 2 minutes either in your legs up the wall, so you may remove the prop, move over, so you extend your legs up the wall so you're completely supported, or keeping your hips on the prop, maybe just a slight readjustment, and extending your legs up. This is supported shoulder stand. So it's this supported inversion. It's much safer for our necks. And just allows, if your hamstrings are really tight, you might find a little bit of a bend necessary, but see if you can find just that balance point. Just allows that flush of lymph from our lower extremities back down for recirculation. If this is too much, you can always come back to your supported bridge. It might feel much nicer. Or if you're on the block and it's too firm with the legs extended, you can swap over to a bolster, a pillow, or a few pillows. So from here, if you are in legs up the wall, you may like to stay in that exact position because that can be really relaxing for Shavasana. If you're in the middle of the room, gently bring your feet down. Keep your knees bent, take a breath or two in neutral. And then lift your hips so you can move the prop out from underneath you, lower your hips down. Keep your knees bent, feet on the mat again. Maybe let the knees rest against each other. Take a few breaths here, allowing the natural curves of the spine to return. And then finding your way into Shavasana, your final relaxation. So you might extend your legs out. Maybe place your bolster or a few pillows underneath the crease of your knees. That can be really nice. If you're still in legs up the wall, you can just keep resting there if you're super happy there. Finding the comfortable position for you. I'm going to sit up to take you through your relaxation, but just allow yourself a couple of moments of adjusting so that you can just be really comfortable. Maybe placing something over your eyes. Maybe taking a deep breath in through your nose. A long breath out of your mouth. This long, extended exhale, this sigh of relief. You have arrived. You get to rest. And this part of our practice is really the most important part, even though it feels like we're doing quote unquote nothing. It's the part where integration happens, when the old patterns that we've just shifted through get to really be released, and then new ways of being get to come in. So just allow yourself to rest, scanning through your body, noticing anywhere that's tense or clenching, that doesn't need to be. All the things. Staying exactly as you are for the moment. Just becoming aware or coming home to your breath. So whether you deepen that breath or lengthen that breath, or just trace it in and out. Maybe finding a new or revised intention, one that you can take with you off the mat into the rest of your day ahead. What feels useful for you to carry with you as a reminder? What clarity do you have that you don't need to overthink or figure out? You can just practice trusting. And when you feel complete in that, starting to invite gentle movement back into your body. You might draw circles through your wrists and ankles, or wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe rocking your head gently side to side if that feels good for your neck. Stretching your arms overhead, pointing your feet, a big stretch for the front of your body, a sigh or yawn if you need it. Maybe bringing your knees into your chest, giving yourself a big hug, a little rock side to side, or drawing circles a few times each direction. Or maybe stillness feels good for you. Go with what feels nourishing for you. From here, start to roll over to one side, helping yourself up. Find a comfortable seat. Let your eyes close or lower once you're there. You might let your arms and hands relax wherever is comfortable. You may like to bring your hands together at your heart. That's totally up to you. Whatever feels best. Pausing for a moment. Reminding yourself of that new intention or the reminder or the clarity. Acknowledge it again. And then from here, pausing for a moment in gratitude for yourself for taking the time out of your day to slow down and reconnect. Gratitude for the space that you've created and anyone that you've created that space with. And gratitude for your practice of yoga that you can now take with you off the mat. Thank you for joining me. I hope you feel nice and nourished and rested and all of the good things. And